And welcome back. So I'm going to bring our presenters right back up and I will disappear. Let's see. Carol, turn on your microphone and your camera. Oh,
Yes.
yes, here we go. Okay, handing over to you guys.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Francis. All right, guys. So how was the exercise? How were the discussions? Headache? Fun? What was it? Talk to me. Was it a taxing exercise or was it a simple discussion? Quite informative. Nice. Nice experience.
Okay, so maybe simple discussion, right? So we need some persons to come up and share.
Yeah, so who's gonna volunteer? We have any volunteers to tell us, give us a rundown? Yes, Renee, you realize you knew a lot of stuff before that you didn't know you knew? You see? I accepted the challenge.
Join us on stage, Karen.
Yeah, who wants to join us? I feel Renee wants to join us,
Yes, I think so too.
Feeling. Yeah.
She's very active.
Let me see.
She said it's informative. Renee, do you want to join us on stage? Sure.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
So
Let me find her. I think Francis had to help me with this one because I'm not seeing the option. How do I toss Renee up on stage here? Renee, just you could unmute. Or you could turn on your camera.
Renee, just turn on your camera and turn on your microphone. Here we go.
There we go. I see her.
I think it's on. I'm not seeing it. I don't know if it's on or not.
I'm seeing you, Renee.
Okay.
I'm not hearing you.
I'm hearing her.
Welcome, Renee. How are you?
Hi, I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. So talk to us. What were some of the findings and the core details that your team came up with from the discussion on the exercise?
All right, hold on. Let me just bring this up again. All right. So we found out that what are the aims of the supervisory training? We found that for future purposes, it was very important, and the business issues, as was highlighted in the question, was to improve employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and the outcome would have been the improving the sales figures.
Wow.
Say that again?
I said, wow.
Oh, so the data elements Harold would need to perform, we highlighted probably a feedback survey.
Mm-hmm.
To help him to that you'd put in probably Excel, because I'm answering both questions, that would put in Excel to show you the impact of what supervisory training is. And you need supervisors to help with small issues instead of having to continuously run to HR. And where Harold would acquire this data, we said it would be, as I said, from the feedback survey provided by HR, because you'd have to get feedback to say, is this working? Is it not working? What you need to change, what you don't need to change. So yeah, that was basically, we can do much discussion. Time was so limited, but yeah.
So from your perspective, any tools you think he could be using other than the obvious Excel?
Well, we found Excel to be the most, and the HRIS system, but from our group we were mostly using Excel, so that's where. And our knowledge of us is a bit limited there.
All right, nice. Thanks a lot, Renee, for the contribution.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wants to jump on stage? Let me hear from one of the other groups. Joel, good discussion. So Joel, you wanna jump up with us? You had a nice full table where you all had a discussion. Would you like to come on stage? Tell us your experience and answer some of these questions here. Or you stage shy? Okay.
Lynette. Yes.
Perfect, Lynette.
Join us, Lynette. Open your camera and your microphone.
Lynette, in true Trini style, I'll say, come true.
Okay.
Perfect. Welcome, Lynette.
Hi, guys. So Joelle and I, you hearing me?
Yes,
Yes, we're hearing you very well.
Okay, awesome. So Joelle and I, we probably came from the WhatsApp group and were able to kind of pull a space at the last moment. So we didn't really get to
Okay.
have a discussion specific on the case, but he works at Sandals and they just implemented a new HR program. They have their analytics, their data. And it was like, okay, he's living the dream that I need to be living in.
Wow.
Yeah. And he encouraged me to join in and definitely share because I was telling him, it's so frustrating trying to get
Joel. Okay, nice.
Yeah, so
HR Plus.
he's given me, quite a bit of inspiration because when I look at it, if it was if I was Harold in my nice and manual place, I wouldn't even know where to start. It would be like, okay, let me scratch and see where I could find who all went to the training. And then we went to talking about, what were the results of the training, performance management data, looking at productivity, improvement plans, development planning. It's so much information that's needed to really be able to, analyze and see what really was the result of the supervisory training. And I even said to him that with COVID, we started to do a lot of learning and development activities online. And every time we do a training, you see the same people. So we start to ask ourselves questions. Is it that we are ineffective in the training, that people didn't get it? Or were they too busy? So having you guys could just continue to inspire me to take information back to my colleagues and team members in BVI. I work for the government because we need to get to this level where I could live the dream that Joelle lives now happily.
Thank you, Lynette. Thanks for that contribution. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So did anyone think about the investment costs of training? What are some of the costs that will be involved in training?
Yeah, so
because training can be costly.
Yeah, Joel, I actually was part of a project where we built out and customized HR Plus. That was like about 6 years ago. HR Plus is a really, really good program. All right, so what I'll do, let me try to give you all some more insight and some more detail on this. So to try to help you all, get some of those elements that you all probably didn't pick up when you all had your discussion. All right. And thanks a lot, Lynette, and of course Joel for adding that extra value. So what are the aims of the supervisory training program? Of course, the reason why I put supervisory training here is that we know that who it's targeting. It would be targeting, existing supervisors and even those high performers who have the potential to become supervisors. So when we think about that group now, the aims of it is really to develop our supervisory capacity in the company, which will of course lend towards, where Harold, I gave the indication that it increases engagement, customer satisfaction, and of course sales. Now, the business issues it'll be solving will be tying back towards the lag effect of the training. So, the business issues would be, maybe there was some drops in customer service or they had some marginal customer service. What they want to do, provide something more consistent. They want to ensure that the employees are readily engaged because engagement lends towards retention and it also affects turnover. So, we're seeing where the linkage among all these different metrics would come into play right here. And that's why I'm saying analytics is really all about the relationship among metrics, right? What data elements or fields? Now, this is very granular, guys. And this is where it starts getting into, the tactics and understanding data and what do you need from the data. So, of course, I would like to thank Khadija. Khadija was on a table. I stepped into a table with her and she had a lot of really, it was Khadija? No, it wasn't Khadija. Let me see the name. Jump up if you remember me on this table. I know Khadija came and left, but it's Khadija. Okay, great. All right. Oh, it was Khadija. All right, great. Thank you. And Khadija had some great ideas where she was talking about both before and after the training, showing from the data the employee profiles, so their demographics, their gender, age groups, before and after the training, where the improvements are in terms of their performance. So their PA score before, their PA score after, their management reports, their 360 feedback, their engagement survey results. All of these individual fields you'll be dropping into a data set that you'll be molding. There we go, Daniel. Perfect.
Cost of
productivity
production,
and
hoping for more
yeah.
efficient supervisor after training. Cost of training, right? The
Correct.
cost of training is very important.
And because to determine the ROI, we need to first
ROI,
realize the investment that's made, and then of course the benefit, right? So if you look at the investment or the investment cost is tied back to, of course, the cost of training. But Daniel, interesting here. I'm talking about, I mentioned that, the supervisory training is an internal program. What are some of the costs you're thinking about? Because you aren't paying an external provider. But what are some of the costs you're thinking of that would lend towards this program? Any ideas?
Apart from the trainer's salary, man hours.
Well,
yes,
remember,
man hours.
this person is an employee. Yeah? This is an internal person who already getting a salary. There we go, Khadija. Based on the hours they spend, the time that they put, we put that cost in because they are being paid, right? And if they are doing training instead of their normal role and function, that's basically downtime. So it comes still as a cost to the company. There we go, Daniel, of course.
Yes,
and the cost
of materials, yes. The platform,
material, the platform. Perfect, Rolando. Thanks. That's a real good one there too. Yeah, so you see, you guys seeing that,
you have to
where do you get the data? Yeah, and what was the actual data that you're gonna have to be pulling to actually see this thing. All right, and of course, I think what was mentioned earlier, the data sources. So of course, PAs, performance appraisals, general employee data coming from the HRIS, whatever training survey data that they would have provided after, that may not be in the HRIS, but somewhere. Yeah, compensation data that will come from payroll or even finance. The sales data, marketing data that will show the increases in customer satisfaction.
The benefit, right? Improvement, the change in sales.
Yeah, and so you're realizing now that this is a very holistic type of activity, right? HR is not the only department involved in this thing. All right. So whenever you're thinking about HR analytics, it's not HR, it's HR led, but it's not an HR function. Nice. Yeah, great. Rolando. And I think that's a big part of where the problem lies, right? Right, Rolando? Nice. So let's move forward, because let's now see how we can transition from where we are now into that whole analytics leadership type of role. How do we get there? What are some of the core elements we need to consider to actually get there? And one is, of course, building that readiness, and it's really pulling together these 4 ingredients. And the first most important ingredient, the most critical ingredient for analytics is data. All right. So we need to be able to be collecting data from all the various sources consistently. Yeah? Because if you realize something I've mentioned here, it's consistent processed data. It's not just a one-off data. It's something that we need to be collecting on the process, consistently storing and sharing it right. This is why you need proper governance and these things, which we'll talk about a bit later.
Carol, many times when we speak about analytics, we think about only quantitative data. But we can collect qualitative data. For example, when we have our exit interviews or when we do focus groups, and we can analyze qualitative data and find the themes. So it's qualitative data. When we think of data, it should not be thought of just the numbers and the figures, but we can think of qualitative data, which can be analyzed. For example, we can do sentiment analysis on what people are saying to check on engagement scores. Yes.
All right. So I got a really nice question from Donat here in terms of what about the impact on his support staff. And Donat, there's an interesting metric. We look at turnover, right? And we all know about turnover and how turnover affects an organization. But when you look at every metric, there's always like a sub metric that you could look into. After you get the big picture with the metric, there's always a sub metric. And there's actually like turnover by manager or turnover by supervisor, because here you can actually see trends on whether or not, because we know the impact that a bad supervisor or a bad manager has on staff. And when we start seeing, where, like, let's say, like I've experienced in shift work, where you have different supervisors and we have different varying levels of performance from the same staff, based on who's leading that particular shift. And that's done it. That is actually data we could use here to provide that kind of impact, to show the impact of the training program. Because if the particular supervisor who was trained, who was part of the training program, we are looking at that group compared to the supervisors who haven't been trained yet, and we can actually do a comparative analysis on that too. So that's a great question. That's a great comment. Yeah, comment. Yeah, transfer request and
especially transfer, right?
Yeah, correct. Correct.
That's a very good.
Yeah, and I like what Parmendra is asking about with regard to the external factors such as COVID on employee performance. Now, that has been a thorn in my side for like the last year, because while we're trying to look at the impact and the effects of COVID, in order to do that and to pick up on that trend, organizations would have needed at least 3 to 4 years worth of data so that we could see, okay, what was normal and what is the new normal, that kind of thing. And because many organizations did not have a lot of data to share pre-COVID, it's become a bit difficult for some of them to really look at, what were the effects of COVID.
Before and after.
I think it forced a lot of organizations in the Caribbean to start thinking more along data and, trying to figure out how to collect that data to really prove it. But I know there's been a lot of effects, and managing remotely, there's a lot of data that you can get, right? Like yes, Jimmy, but they're coming around, because I've tried to advise people, hey, collect the data, digitize whatever you've been doing before, and get that trend. We could actually see some trends quicker than others. So I think for Benja, yes, if we're looking at COVID the same way where we're looking at the organizational goal and what the organization wants to focus on, we will have to start collecting more data in that regard to start seeing what's happening. And per Benja, we can compare it to previous figures that would have been collected, like sales figures, marketing engagement, and some of these things too, right? So even if we don't have like the core HR data to look at, we could look at those other operational elements and see the linkage back to some of the HR metrics that will be, kind of now formulated. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for the feedback. So outside of data, as I said, data is the most critical one, and that's why I have that one first, right? And after the data elements are covered, this is where we need to ensure that we have the skills and we have the right team. And we spoke before that it is an HR-led team. And I think Carol would love to go off on that, because we know that it's a cross-functional team. And Carol could really add some value on that one.
Right. Because yes, as you rightly said, it's an HR-led team, but it does not necessarily, HR analytics does not necessarily reside in the HR department. So you have to have a cross-functional team. You need persons from finance, you need persons from marketing, you need persons from IT who will have the analytics skills. And of course, you need persons from the business department and from HR. So, and HR must be data literate. The basic skill that HR needs to have, apart from the core functional skills, is data literacy skills. But you need
Correct.
all the other skills from their various persons.
Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when we think about the technology, and we spoke about, what tools we had there. And we know that there are varied tools. We spoke about Excel. We spoke about, doing custom stuff, Python and R. We spoke about your HRIS system, like HR Plus, for instance. There also Visio. Visio is an analytics tool that uses a lot of HR data. It aggregates data. SAP as well. There's also a software called, Power BI and Tableau. Those are the other two.
Power BI.
And Click. So I'll just drop those in the chat. Those are others that you could look at. Visio and Click. Right? Yeah. Right? And Visio and Click are actually two really good applications you can look at. But of course, they're costly. But the value, if it is your organization is already collecting consistent data, and of course, yes, Deviani, you have to pay for them.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
That's why Excel has been popular, for organizations that are just starting up. And then as you start exploring, we start creating custom Python code, writing stuff in R, and creating models that the company could use. Because when you think about dashboards, every organization I've gone to would have a different dashboard. right? They look for different things. They're focusing on different things. So there's no like one way to build a dashboard. It's really based on what the organization and the teams are looking for.
And your IT teams, team members, many of them could create the dashboard for you too.
And they even power apps and stuff like that within Excel that you can incorporate. Some of these will have like an extra license, but you're not going to take that license for everybody in your company, only for your analytics team or those who will be delving into it. Yeah. And then, of course, the last one, you see, I've started off with data, which is a critical element, right? Having data to lead to analytics.
But the support.
I've saved the second most critical element for last, which is support. We need support. HR cannot do it on their own. HR needs to garner that support from managers, from executives, etc. I'm gonna try to share some tips and stuff with you guys in that leadership slide to show you all how I was able to garner support even from family-run businesses where they don't spend a lot of money, trying to get stuff from them. But there are a few little tips I'll try to share with you all on how I was able to succeed with some of these guys who let's, for want of a better word, let's say they were stringent. Right? Correct, Rolando.
Sure. Yeah. He said one will be provided. Very good. I love that. HR will no longer have to fight for a seat at the table. They will earn it, right?
Yes, Francis, I'm trying to be politically correct here. Stringent. Let's say stringent. Right? So when you think of the team, and we talk about this cross-functional team, there you'll get a list of 7-8 different skills that you'll need to be in HR analytics or generally in analytics. But to ensure that bottom line. Yes, correct, Marie. It's all about quantifying HR, and once you could quantify it and speak their language, the executive, you imagine an executive, the only language they speak about dollars and cents. So if you go to them with an HR initiative and say, hey, this is going to increase employee productivity by 15%, this is going to make employees more engaged by 25%, you can have all these nice figures, but they're going to watch you and say, oh, so you need what? $50,000 from me to do that? No. But I've learned what you can measure becomes funded. What is measured becomes funded. So if I could show them that 15% in productivity increase lends towards an increase in income by 25% monthly, so you could actually generate an additional $300,000 by the end of the year potentially, or employee engagement can increase where we could reduce turnover. And every time an administrative staff leaves, I calculated for a company once where I told them that they lost $2.6 million last year. And everybody dressed back like, we didn't see that in the papers. I said, no, these 50 employees left. And in order to replace them, which what we did in recruiting, we replaced that. And then, I showed them, listen, this was $2.6 million that was lost in operational income. You didn't see it, but it happened because of that lack that you have within your process. And that actually raised a lot of eyebrows and people paid attention. And I had that as a first slide. So that was a very successful presentation, right? So being able to quantify what you're doing is very, very important. So when you coming in HR analytics, somebody in your team, now sometimes you're a one-man army, you have to have all of these, or you could have different people managing different things. So the consultant skill, you could have people in a strategy department, you could have HR, you could have an executive who could be part of the team to understand strategy and the holistic business, right? I've created teams where they use a senior manager or they use an executive member to drive that support, right? So working with the business, working alongside strategy is important. Data management is also very, very important. Data governance, HR data is private.
Some Caribbean countries have data protection laws. I know in Jamaica we do have that. And you have to have policies.
Correct. And when you work in any kind of department, like let's say immigration, in immigration, no matter which country, you still have to be able to comply with like GDPR, because once one European citizen, once one EU citizen comes into your data set, you have to comply with GDPR laws and their guidelines. So, knowing what the business has, and because HR data is sensitive, we have to have that extra precaution in terms of managing it, who has access, who's going to use it, etc. A tip that I have here, guys, when you're sharing data, especially with outside teams, what you'll need to do, what I've done with teams is say here we use the employee IDs rather than personal. No personal information goes out. If I create a collaborative space in Office 365 and I have a team in Jamaica, a team in Barbados, a team in Trinidad, they could all work on that same data set on the cloud, but there's no sensitive data or that kind of thing. Correct, Desiree, right? So you leave out any kind of personal data, and you could even use aggregate data and all these things to drop it there, and it could still be utilized because it's still secure. But you just don't want anybody to know, well, this is Carol's profile or this is Karen's profile. You have to keep that out of there to protect the people who contributed towards that data. All right. Of course, communication. I was talking with somebody earlier on one of the tables, and she said that she's coming from media and she's stepping into this, and it's perfect because I actually have an MBA in marketing management. So it shows how important communication is within the HR realm, and being able to communicate the findings, being able to translate it into a language that all the stakeholders can understand. Being able to visualize data, being able to show and send that message out is very, very important, right? And then, of course, the cross-functional element within your entire team would actually lend towards, varied experience. Yes, Desiree. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, for real. And it does lend to, because you have this cross-functional team, it does lend towards new ideas coming in. And I came from an IT background. I worked with another guy he had more accounting and statistical backgrounds, and then some HR people. And we came up with some really good ideas way back in 2007. And we were doing some stuff in PAs and things like that weren't adopted in Trinidad until like 2015. So the concept of having this cross-functional team would lend towards a lot of innovation. All right. And then, of course, finally, as we're thinking about that leadership element, so we understand the ingredients that we need, for this recipe. We understand what we need from the team to push forward and utilize data. Now we need to really drive that support from the wider community. And look at this here. 65% of those who work in organizations with strong people analytics can actually boast stronger performance, better performance from the business. Why? Because everybody's involved. What we are trying to create is a data-driven culture. So we're trying to get people to appreciate, well, not data-driven, and I've used it a few times previously. What we want is a data appreciation culture. We want an organization where they can appreciate when you ask a manager, hey, where's the data? Do you have the data? We don't want them to look at us and say, and I'm not giving you that, I'm too busy. No, we want them to actually come to us and say, listen, I have some data here. Can you look at it? Can you look at my team? I have absenteeism problems. We want to solve this. And let them appreciate the importance of data, that raw, uncut, processed data that we could take now and mold and understand the patterns of behavior. All right, and be able to help them solve some of those problems that they're going through. So basically figuring out who will be affected, understand our major stakeholders. Every problem we have in the company would have different stakeholders. So there might be a problem in marketing, there might be a problem in operations, there might be a problem right within HR. So we need to understand who's involved, who's impacted, and be able to speak their language, make it personal for them, do you all know about that radio station called WeFM? Who's familiar with that radio station? WIIFM. I'm certain some of you all know that station. Yeah, you know them, Daniel. Yes, yeah, what's in it for me? Right? And so you need to go to them, not speaking as an HR person for you and what you think HR needs from this, but what's in it for them? What's the value in it for them? Because they have to put some effort in some cases to generate that data for you. So unless they understand the value of it for them, they aren't gonna help you. And it's really critical to understand that. And from a communication perspective, that's how you need to come across. It's not for you and HR, but it's for them. Everything HR does is a service for the organization and for the members of the organization. all right? And the earlier you start communicating, that's why we talk about involvement, you bring them in. You pull them in as part of the initiative. I've had quite a number of successes doing that, bringing in managers early. Remember we mentioned earlier, Carol, we mentioned earlier, you know, think big, you know, start small.
Yes.
And what I've tried to do is try to find a few managers who could be champions for me. I don't want to change the whole organization from the get-go, but we find a few managers who are more accommodated. Yeah, who understand data and say, hey, listen, we think we need this, we need that. And you work alongside them. And what I've done, I worked alongside them and build small models for them, just show them simple things. And what that does, we get other managers now wondering, but so why you didn't come to me? I want that too. I want a benefit too. And then you start driving these other guys, because if the change agents that these guys would start, and what I also did was get that manager to push it to his executive. And what ended up happening, it will get called up as an issue in a board meeting somewhere. And then my name gets called and somebody's calling me and I'm wondering what's going on. And then they'll ask me now to do this on a bigger scale. And you know, that's how it really happens, because I think we all have been there where we come with a really nice initiative and they will say, that wouldn't work here. That's some research from the US or that's some research from the UK. We in the Caribbean, that wouldn't work here. But what I did, I proved them wrong by going to a change agent, finding that nice manager who I could work alongside, you know, fuel them. Let's build something small. Let's do something. Let them reap the benefit. And then when they reap the benefit, you have real data to prove, hey, listen, it can work here. And if we get more resources, if we benefited this little amount, like 10% increase in something, we can get that to 50, 60% if we get your support. So it does work. So you have to start small. You can't, you know, there's no start to finish. You know, we'll build from there, and it's a trial and error. Yeah, they just want to see ROI. And that's why, you know, that third point there where we want to quantify the efforts. We quantify and yeah, areas, the simplest way I could tell you how to quantify HR efforts. Time, the time it takes people to do something, everybody gets a salary. You divide by that simple metric, that simple value, 173.33. That's the general hours you work for the month. And you get an hourly rate for any effort that an employee does. And it's very easy to now calculate that effort. Then also resource utilization. If any resource gets used, you could even get data from finance to show depreciation. So we could show the cost of the wear and tear on a particular item, right? We could even usage of, you know, let's say stationery, usage of any other materials. We could get those costs and quantify a lot of effort in there, right? So it's not you don't need big statistical models and all kinds of things. You just really need to show how the effort of the people and how the utilization of the resources, how those costs factor into the time that is taken to get things done. And to me, that's like the simplest way I would explain quantifying HR. And, you know, hopefully sometime in the future, we'll have more discussions where I'll share some more details on that. But that's pretty much the initial idea of how we quantify HR efforts. All right. Disappointing at an acceptable rate. Now, that sounds counterintuitive, right? Yeah, but what happens here is that when we are exploring, when we're doing this kind of work, you don't always get the results you're looking for. So, you know, we have to be willing to have some failure, but, you know, not too much. We don't want to drive too hard and fail hard. You want to be cautious, you know, explore certain areas, the key areas, try to figure out what's going on, see the pattern, test the pattern, and if it feels fine, we learn something new now and we do it again. And that's how you keep going. An organization can never go from 0% analytics to 100% analytics. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it gradually. It is a learning process because every organization is different. Let's say, for instance, one of you all call me next week and say, hey, Karen, I like the session. I want you all to come in, you know, solve some of our problems. If I come in there, yes, I come in with experience doing stuff elsewhere, but this is a new organization. You're looking at different things. You all have data in different places. You all have data structured at certain levels. So everything is different. Everything is unique. And while we can take some of those elements and pull them together very quick and get a nice little quick win, there's still a lot of trial and error that will have to be done because your organizational culture is different everywhere you go. And I think you all know that as HR people, as people who have worked in many organizations, we know that it's different everywhere. So there's still a learning curve with regard to, you know, the culture, getting people to adapt and how we do things. I think that's the statement, right? How we do things. We go
Yes.
to organizations
We
and they
don't
say
do
this is how we do things. Right? So every organization has its own unique characteristics. So understanding the culture and getting that to work.
So,
with them.
Carol,
Yes, Karen.
fighting against the cultural barriers is very important if you want to forge ahead with HR analytics.
Correct.
That's very, very critical.
Mm-hmm. And culture, all those practices, leadership. I think one of the factors out of culture you have to pick up on would be leadership. And if you could get some of your mid-level leaders and some of your internal champions to really kind of fight the good fight with you, it does amplify your efforts heavily. Yeah? So it's not just HR fighting for it, but you'll have other departments fighting for it. And little by little, everybody will win in their own way. And then gradually, because that's what behavior is, right? Behavior is a gradual changing process. You can't change behavior overnight, but what we do is we erode it. Change has always been an erosive type of process. So you start with some departments, start with your champions, let them lead the way, let the results speak for themselves. And when people start to notice, when other departments start noticing and they ask the question now, you are on stage where you are getting the seat on the table because they are inviting you in to explain, hey, how did you get this department to work so well? Yeah, correct. Yes, Desiree.
Yes.
Correct. And yeah, we definitely need that support. And as I said, if we are able to speak their language, if we are able to quantify HR and speak their language, we will get this support. I'm telling you, it works. It works. I'm telling you. All right. So and then of course, as I said, don't wait for perfection. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. When it comes to analytics, I could talk all night. Yeah. Right.
Well,
so
yeah,
we have like one more slide.
All right,
Yeah, but as I said, do ever wait for perfection. Start now. Start small. Think big. Yes, you have the aim, you have the objective, but start small. Do it in one process. Do it in two processes, and little by little, you will start seeing the value, and it will snowball. I'm telling you, it does. It works, but it does take time. Huh? It does take time. Gauge 6 months to 2 years over time, over that period of time. Don't expect everything to work immediately. I'm telling you from experience, it doesn't. All right. Nice.
And focus
then,
on the main metrics.
Focus on
the main metrics.
the key business.
The KPIs. That's very, very critical.
Correct. All right. So of course, some of the key takeaways. Going from metrics to analytics, really shifting your focus from just this metric or that metric into looking at the relationships and figuring out the patterns within a process, and then you can start digging deeper from there. All right. Getting yourself into that readiness state. It's all about, understanding where the data is coming from, who's providing the data, managing that data, getting the skill sets up within your team or, elements within the company, grab somebody from IT, grab somebody from marketing and start building that team. HR doesn't have to do it on its own. Use the technology, all right? Use the technology that's available. Excel is a good place to start. And then you start building more on that. And then, of course, you get your stakeholders to support you as you go. Yeah, I think everything should be available. We're not holding back anything. So just to answer those questions that's on the chat there. All right. Of course, to get analytics success, have that cross-functional team, and then of course, to build that leadership. Lynette, can you take your? Yeah, don't worry. I think
Francis. A microphone and a camera if she wants to come up.
Yeah. Right. And of course, to gain that with analytic leadership is all about, forging strong relationships across the company, especially with those who can be your champions. And then, then we could build it from there. And it slowly erodes into a full-blown company-wide data appreciation culture. That's really where you're aiming for. All right. So with that, I think I'll have the favorite slide of the night, the best slide of the night. So I'd like to thank you all for coming in. And, I think, yes, we could have.
Somebody's asking for the metrics, listed, but we could share some metrics.
Yeah, certainly. I actually have most of them compiled, if not more. But it's not. She's not on the stage. Okay, cool. Right. Yeah, what I could do, I have most of it compiled already, and I am actually building a master sheet. So what I could probably do is just kind of drop in, maybe just compile the ones that I had on the slide, and then share it. Yeah, yes, don't worry, Samantha. I have stuff in a tabular format, but what I could do is have like a short explanation after each one, so that you all could see, you know, as I said, those are some key support metrics, and it would be a nice place to start to kind of get your feet wet, and then after you could look at KPIs, and then you could expand. So yeah, I could sort that out for you all, man. I don't know, give me for the weekend and stuff, right? Oh, you could, yeah, you'll get the slide, but I'll give you all more details. Yeah,
Excel to be
Michelle.
included, right?
Yeah, that's actually something I do for corporations, and it's not really generic because what I try to do is customize it for everybody. So no problems, no problems. I'll have to formalize it as a general package, and it's definitely something. Well, I can actually share. If you're on LinkedIn, y'all can find me. There's only one of me in the world. Just type my name, you will find me. My email is very simple: karen.ranganesh@gmail.com. I'm just gonna share it here, and my number, actually, I don't mind giving out that for WhatsApp. So you could always just drop a line, send a message. It's not a problem at all. Just tell me who you are, how I know you, and you know, we can start a conversation. Nothing is wrong with that. But yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm gonna be dumping more articles and stuff. I definitely want to start pushing out more HR analytics stuff for the new year too. So you know, look out for those things on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, that's all right, Carl. Carl, listen, you add value whether you're here for 5 minutes or for the entire thing. So don't worry yourself about that. All right. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for coming in, and you know, comments, questions, everything appreciated. And feel free to reach out to myself or Carol or Francis, you know, afterwards. Thanks a lot for the time and the attention, and of course the contributions in the chat. I think Carol.
Hello?
Guys, are you hearing me?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
great. Thanks so much. Before you go, could you say a word or two about your AI HR training? You know, why would someone like Carol, who obviously knows so much and delivered so many programs, why would Carol, who is doing a PhD, why would they go take this program from this Dutch company online? And give us a few words as to why you took those, and I'll put up your testimonials.
All right, no problems. I've been involved in HR analytics for quite a while, even before AI HR came about. And as I was mentioning earlier, guys, you know, different companies do things in different ways. So, you know, we had to kind of learn and relearn all the time. And what I was looking at with AI HR was part of their approach. They had some standard approaches. And my aim was really to find that standard framework or approach towards HR analytics so that I could have that standard area. That's that foundation to stand on, and you know, just continue growing from there. So that was my initial the initial reason why I signed up. But then I started exploring many other programs inside of it. So they had diversity and inclusion, they had organization network analysis. So they had a lot of really cool stuff that I started exploring. And I actually did, yes, I did about 9 certifications.
Wow.
But I also did about 15 or 16 other courses. So I think I only fell short about maybe 5 courses on AIHR right now that I didn't do. You know, because the content is clear, it's easy to follow. They have some nice roadmaps and resources that you could utilize. And it has actually helped me push forward with some of my HR analytics work and considerations. So they were definitely worth it for me.
Yeah, I have a strong background in statistics, research methods, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods methodology in my PhD research. However, the courses at AIHR, they're very practical, and I was able to bridge that gap between academia and practice. And as Karen said, they have a wealth of resources. They are, you know, you have databases that you can use, and it is self-paced. You get support. You have a coach who supports you, and you have updated research. So it was very, you know, I had also tried to do the course at other universities, but it was very expensive. So the course at AIHR was very economical for me, and I could do it at my own pace. So that's why
definitely.
I chose that one. I did only one, unlike Karen, I didn't have the time to do all those courses because I'm completing the PhD. So I did a course on people analytics.
Good, Carol. Good.
Okay.
We like it. We good.
Great. I actually put up the wrong slide here, so I'm going to put up the right one. The right slide should say that there's a 45% discount starting next week for Black Friday. So I mentioned this before. This blew me away because I had no idea it was coming. But this is a once per year offering that they make for Black Friday. And I'm strongly recommending that folks in our community take a real good look at it. I'm putting the links up in the chat. Let's see. Tisha says sign me up. Tisha, it starts on the 23rd. Hey, I put up the wrong. Hey boy. Put up the wrong graphic.
Francis.
All right, guys.
Francis, this is a wrong slide Wednesday.
That boy. I've been working for you guys all week. Anyway, it's 45%. It's not 25%, but here are some details so you know what the actual dollars look like. So the regular 18-month, what they call the all-you-can-learn license that Karen mentioned, normally costs about $1,800 US.
Yeah.
With the 45% discount available from November 23rd to 29th, it's $1,168. And then they have payment plans, which run for something, I think there's a 6-month payment plan.
6 months,
So if you do it's 6 months, right? So when you do the maths, you realize, hang on a minute, you can actually start to do this thing and get it and get the 18 months, get the 10 different certificates if you want, because you're doing 10 different courses, and you have a 60-day guarantee. So when they broke it down for me, I said, you know what the truth is? This is a life-changing opportunity that's coming up next week, because given that it's not going to be around for another year, it's really an opportunity to grab onto something that these guys have talked about. They're the ones, I've not done the program, they've done it. And if they're really as impactful as they say they are, it would lead to having a very different career for some folks. This could be serious job security based on the research that I shared at the very beginning. So guys, I want to thank you for presenting tonight. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Carol. And Lynette's picture is still stuck there. But thank you so much for the hard work. Guys, I want you to know, I want you to big them up right now in the chat, because putting together this kind of presentation, it may look like it wasn't all that much work, but let me tell you, we had them back and forth because this topic was so very different. And we sensed that it would be so very important. That's why it was oversold tonight. Our room was full tonight. And that's why we had 300 and 400 and something people signing up to be here. So thanks for making it special, Carol and Karen. And those of you who participated tonight, Renee and Lynette, thanks for coming up on stage. Thanks for being so engaging. We'll have about 5 minutes more to do networking, to do some networking. But let me put the link to our sign-up page in the chat for more information. That's this page.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the feedback.
I'll put the same chat link in. So that page will allow you to sign up for timely information as the sale takes place next week and beyond, because when they have specials, we can also let you know about them. So if you want to stay in the know, make sure you sign up. And some people have been asking about replays. I'm going to turn off the recording right now. And I think the replays should be available by the weekend, if everything works out the way we sometimes hope it should. So you should get an email in your inbox. So, okay, guys, let's go back into networking mode. We have about 5 more minutes to meet and greet. Please spend a moment to thank Carol and Karen for their awesome contribution, their hard work, their effort, their knowledge, their expertise.
Thanks,
you can tell they weren't born this way. They are made people. So thank you guys so much for the work that you've done.
Thank you, Francis.
All right, hold on to your chair.